absolutely perfect one to start with.
Good.
We are beginning a new series tonight
Oh,
on the foundational awareness. And so this is level 1 of my models, starting at the very beginning with the very first one of the foundational level mind models. So like I said, it's perfect one for you to start on.
good.
So we are really glad to have you here. Reza, it's always good to see you. What time is it in the Philippines?
I have my mic on. It's 9 a.m.
9 a.m. Interesting. That's not bad.
No.
Anyway, okay.
Um,
So are we ready to get started, Blair?
Almost. All of this juggling to and fro has hidden my the window I wanted to use or to pardon me, get everything up and going. So I'm digging around for it on my computer, metaphorically speaking. I think I found it. I did. I found it. Yay. Okay, now I just have to hit that. And I'm going to actually show people, if they're interested, hopefully they are, what you get with the BDE Insider Notes. So, hold it. How come this just, I moved it slightly and things. I may not. How come this is not behaving? There we go. That worked. Yes, I'm all good. Yay! Technology sometimes works. So, welcome all to, did you want to take over and start doing your thing here, Patty?
Yes, I would be happy to.
Thank
So
you.
just a couple of announcements. Blair has a couple of books if this information tonight is interesting to you. He's got a book called The Ultimate Mind Hacking, which is available on Amazon, and he's got one called The Phobia Freedom Formula. So we just wish to let you know that there's more information out there. He's going to be sharing apparently later a little bit more about the insider notes, which are also available if you want to go deeper with anything that we share here. Whenever we prepare for a topic, there's always more information that we prepare than we're able to actually use during the program. So all of that extra information, in addition to there's an instructional video, there are some other things Blair's going to go into, and it's called the Insider Notes. And he'll be describing those a little bit later. But to welcome you, this is the 386th episode of the Blair Dunkley Experience. This is our mind model community where we discuss mind models. Mind models are a collection of extensively tested thought frameworks, skills, and behaviors that enable people to transform their lives intentionally. They were researched and proven to work 80% of the time. Mind model definitions are behavioral, not academic. They are process-based, and for this reason, we lean heavily into the experiential piece. Regardless of how long you work with mind models, there's more depth to explore. Even Blair experiences this with his own work after 50 years. Your host for this evening is Blair Dunkley, the creator of Mind Models. My name is Patty. I'm a certified mind model method coach and your co-host tonight, along with certified mind model method coaches Tim and Becky Graff once they are able to join us. The BDE is Blair's free gift to you and an opportunity to learn, experience, and practice mind models in a safe, real-world environment. Personally, mind models helped me overcome more than a decade of depression. They have positively impacted every area of my life, including my relationship with myself. We look forward to learning with you tonight and welcome you to the BDE. So Zach, welcome, welcome. Good to see you here.
Thank you.
So Blair, I would go into leftovers right now, but did you want to insert your insider note piece at the moment, or do you want me to continue?
You can continue on, and I'll just insert that because I'm going to go from the insider notes and just show people the notes, what it looks like, because I've done a massive rework of the entire site and getting it up here. So I'm sort of proud of that, and I'll show you guys in a minute. So,
Okay. So I'll do leftovers and then you
Yep.
can take off and do yours, the video, and then move right into the new material. Does that
Yep,
work for you, Blair?
exactly.
Okay, that sounds good. Well, Zach, like I said, it's very good to see you. I'm really glad you're here. Leftovers, what we've been doing from an experiential piece is we have been adding a question at the end of the previous episode. So last week we spoke about wants and needs. And the question was, how do you experience the difference between wants and needs? So just what you noticed about wants and needs in the past week after our program last week. So let's see. Leslie, do you want to give that one a shot?
I wasn't here last week.
You weren't. I was sure you were.
Nope.
I was in Ontario.
Okay.
Interesting enough, earlier today I watched the video and found it to be quite helpful at explaining the difference between want and need.
Okay.
Um,
Is there anything
so I
that
don't
came up
have-
to you when you were came up for you when you were watching that?
well, I've tried very much to not use the word need
Hmm.
in my communications because it's a demanding word.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a strong word, and it's like it's extremely focused in trying to obtain a fixed position or define a fixed position, whereas want allows flexibility, and so yeah, it's.
Well, thank you. I appreciate your contribution. I'm really glad you took a minute to watch that. Reza, you were here last week. Did anything come up for you that you noticed between wants and needs in the past week?
No, nothing came up. It was just I made a third one, which was the requirements, which
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to rethink of even if it's necessary to have that there. And requirements are just needs. I'm just labeling it something else. That's just something that has just been in my mind.
Well, one of the things that came up for me when I was thinking about this is that with all of the needs, there's sort of a chain that goes with that. So you're looking at basic things like food, clothing, shelter. Then you look at the chain of what leads to those things, what provides those things. And those things then are extensions of those needs. So I appreciate your kind of noodling on the idea of requirement and what that's kind of going to give you. Anyway, Brent, do you have anything that came up for you?
Yeah. One thing you were talking about was like the needs for the needs
Yes.
things to happen to get the needs, to meet those. And I that too, in order for something to happen, there are needs, like requirements, things that have to be done. But then
Mhm.
for me, I noticed myself like, man, I was like, man, I need to get, you know, working on something, but to find something
Mhm.
that works for me, that
Mhm.
also fits as a purpose and can also earn income with. And I used the word
Right.
need, and I was like, oh man, wow, putting that a lot of pressure on there. So I was like, well, it's not really a need. It's something I want, that I
Yeah.
really want. But,
Yes.
and then when you break it down, like in order for steps to happen, there are needs, which would be requirement. I would
Mhm.
probably more accurately label them as requirements for things to happen.
Mhm.
So yeah, I did notice there were times I was like, man, I really use that need when I like really want something, and you put the
Mhm.
word need there, but then it puts that pressure
It does.
on
It just
like
kind
an
of,
absolute, and it almost
yeah.
leads to like a destruction or self-destruction because it puts that self-pressure on and that judgment comes with it.
Yes.
So yeah,
Yeah, it really does amp things up a bit.
yeah.
So, Mike, did anything come up for you in wants and needs in the last week?
So, as I said last week, the realization when I started my weight loss journey was that I needed to lose weight in order to save my life. And then I lost 180 pounds, had ablation heart surgery. And so the need was no longer there to save my life. It
Mhm.
switched over to I want to lose another 130 pounds to hit my target weight. And I've been struggling with, relapse of food addiction, junk food addiction, the whole deal. And I realized that I need to make a shift
I'm not sure what happened to
in
your
what I focus
microphone,
on,
Mike. It's really hard
that I
to
need to
hear
save
you right now.
1,000 men's lives, help them lose 150 pounds. And then once I've done that, I'll be able to save the life of a million weight loss warriors around the world. And I ended up buying an audiobook called A Year to Live. And the question asked is, if you only had a year to live, what would you do? And in his work with the dying, author Stephen Levine observed the radical changes people can make in the face of death. And then he challenged himself to live an entire year as if it were his last. And in this revealing narrative, he shares what he learned. And I'm going to be using this to create my own version of coaching for my weight loss clients to help them focus on taking action daily to add an extension to their lives. In the concept of, because of your weight, like where I was at, if I didn't change, I was probably going to be dead in a year.
Mhm.
So I'm using that to help me shape a new section of my training to help, not motivate them, but to kind of light a fire in the ass. So motivation, mindset, mind models, kind of working through that right now.
Okay, thank you very much. Welcome, Tim and Becky. Where we are, we have finished,
Did you get
just
that?
finishing leftovers right now. And Blair is going to do his video, and he has a little update on the insider notes he's going to give us. And then Becky will turn it over to you for new material. So Blair, ball's in your court.
Okay. I almost just messed myself up here by clicking the wrong area. Okay, here we go. Let's get started. So, insider notes. This is what the new insider notes start looking like. And hopefully, nope, that's not correct. Obviously not. This is not, that was not what it looks like. This is what it looks like. Okay, so yes, I got the right one. So it comes up and you land in this area here for the insider notes. And this is the video that we'll be watching, that's sort of a preview and a reminder video. This one in particular, for curiosity, is what we're going through tonight. And it's really good. By the way, this here is an audio overview. This one is 19 minutes long, but it varies between 14 and 20 minutes. And this one here, I'll just oh, I know. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to stop sharing for a second because I did not click on sound and optimize for everything. So there we go. And share again. There we go. So anyway,
You know that feeling when you are trapped in a room and you're just frantically jiggling the doorknob.
Oh, yeah, that sheer rising panic of just being completely stuck.
Right. Your heart rate spikes, your vision narrows, and you just keep yanking at that same locked handle, hoping that somehow, I don't know, the 100th pull is going to magically open it.
Because your brain essentially short circuits. It just loops the exact same useless action because, well, it literally doesn't know what else to do.
Exactly. But then you take a breath, you step back, you look at the hinges, and you realize, wait, the door isn't locked at all. You just needed to push instead of pull.
Yeah, it's a complete perspective.
Anyway, that is something I have done way too many times. So here now, we're just going to do the video here for the curiosity, which we're going to work on tonight. But to finish the quick overview, here's the study guide, the overview. It breaks down some of the critical points that we might go over. Some of them we don't. Glossary of terms, frequently asked questions, and then we come into a knowledge quiz to check it, and then you can check your answers and drop it down, and sort of you click on down here and it reveals the answers, and you're away to the races. So there we go, and I'm going to click here and hopefully, yes, that worked. So we are starting the video.
All right, let's talk about something that's going to sound a little wild. We're going to jailbreak your brain. And we're going to do it by taking curiosity, that feeling of wonder we all have, and turning it from a passive thing into a seriously powerful tool that can change everything about how you think and act. You know that feeling, right? You're just going through the motions. You wake up, you do your thing, you react to emails, you have the same conversations, you hit the same roadblocks. It's like you're running on a script you didn't even write. That's autopilot. And while it's efficient, man, it can feel like a trap. So how do you get out of that loop? Well, the escape key, the master tool, is curiosity. Seriously. Think of it as the ultimate jailbreak for your mind. It's what lets you hit the pause button on that reactive script, forcing your brain to stop and actually gather new information. It's how you shift from just reacting to, well, to deliberately and mindfully acting. Okay, so if we're going to pull off this jailbreak, we need to get super clear on what we even mean by curiosity. Because we're not talking about just vaguely being interested in something. No, we're talking about a much more powerful behavioral definition. This isn't just a personality trait some people have, it's a skill. It's a superpower you can actually build. See that right there? The key phrase is intentional act. This changes everything. It reframes curiosity as an active process, not just a passive feeling. It's about asking questions with a very clear purpose, to get clarity, to see things from a new angle, and most importantly, to figure out how to move forward. And this is where it gets really cool. The process is kind of like a fractal experience, where the closer you zoom in on something, the more detail and complexity you see. That's curiosity. Each good question you ask doesn't just get you an answer. It opens up a whole new layer of questions, leading you deeper and deeper until you finally get to the heart of whatever you're dealing with. But hey, this isn't just some nice psychological trick. This is all deeply rooted in our biology. There's a real physical reason why being curious feels so good. Your brain is literally hardwired to reward you for it. So let's pop the hood and see what's actually going on in there. So the moment you get genuinely curious, your brain gets a hit of dopamine. That's the feel-good chemical. It lights up your brain's reward circuits, the very same ones that fire up when you eat an amazing slice of pizza or hit a major goal. At the same time, it preps your hippocampus, which is command central for making new memories. Your brain literally starts treating new information like a prize, making you hungry for more. And the payoff for all that brain chemistry? Oh, it's huge. Because your hippocampus is all warmed up, you get a serious boost in forming long-term memories. You actually remember stuff better. Because your prefrontal cortex gets activated, you become a better planner and decision maker. You get more resourceful, more flexible. And maybe the best part? You start learning to lean into uncertainty and discomfort instead of automatically backing away. Now this might be the most important part of the whole thing. Think about it. When we get stressed or frustrated, our emotional brain, the amygdala, usually hijacks our logical brain. It's fight or flight. But curiosity does something magical. It builds a bridge between the two. It creates this perfect state where your emotions actually help your reasoning skills come online instead of shutting them down. It lets them work as a team. Okay, but here's the thing. Like any powerful tool, you can use curiosity well, or you can use it really, really badly. It's absolutely crucial to know the difference between using curiosity as a tool to build understanding and using it as a weapon to judge, to blame, or just to win an argument. Let's break it down. When curiosity is a tool, its only goal is to understand. It asks what and how questions to figure out a way forward. It makes you pause and actually listen. But when it's a weapon, it asks questions that are really just statements in disguise, designed to prove you're right. It uses that accusatory, "why did you," to place blame. Or, my favorite, it asks a fake question just to create an opening to drop your own opinion. One builds connection, the other just builds walls. So we've got the science, we've got the user manual. The next big question is, how do you actually start doing this? Like today? Don't worry, there's a simple 4-step framework you can use anytime, anywhere. It's a really simple loop. Step 1, pause. Before you react, just take a beat, a single breath. Step 2, ask. Frame a genuine, open-ended question using what or how. Something like, what's most important right now? Or how might we look at this differently? Step 3, and this is the hardest part, listen. Your only job is to collect data. No judging, no arguing. Just listen. And finally, step 4, discover. With that new information, you can now see a path forward that you couldn't see before. That's it. Pause, ask, listen, discover. So when you boil it all down, it's pretty simple, right? Curiosity isn't something you just have. It's something you do. It is the key to your own mental jailbreak. It's an intentional practice. So the question I want to leave you with is this. What is the one what or how question you can ask today to snap out of your autopilot and discover a totally new path forward?
Okay, so that's where we're starting with curiosity. It's pretty fundamental to what we do. And, it's the beginning spot of almost everything in our lives. We've got to be curious to some degree. Curiosity is literally hardwired into us because it's survival. Whoopsie, sorry about that. Um, right. Just closing it down. My apologies for that. So anyway, it's hardwired in because curiosity is required in us because it's sheer survival. Because if we weren't curious, we wouldn't figure out how to survive. And that's really the fundamentals. Anyway, that's all I wanted to do was to pull that in and just let Becky jump in here because we're bouncing back and forth here this evening with her and I and everybody else jumping into this.
So I'm curious, you guys, with the video, what stood out to you? If you've heard the word curious before, what stood out to you that was maybe different than how you had thought about it in the past? Brent, did you notice anything as the video was going through things that was maybe different than how you've viewed curiosity in the past?
Yeah, I would say the genuine curiosity, being genuinely curious, um, and having the two types of curiosity being used for, genuine curiosity, asking questions and really searching for information, and or using it as a judgmental piece where you're just wanting to use it but hide your questions and insert, your thoughts or use it as a judgment piece on yourself or the situation or others. So the two, being able to differentiate between the two. Not just being curious, like, okay, why did you do that? But then throwing judgment in there, going, hey, what was going on? What were you feeling? What happened there? What are the data inputs? So, really looking between those two. So noticing those differences. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Brent. That was a big one as well, because I don't think that most times when we're talking about mind models, we slow things down to really start identifying what this is. And most times we're just doing our thing, right? It's a word that we read in a book or it's something that we maybe do, but we don't slow down enough to think about, okay, but how are we using it? Do we actually have the ability to harness curiosity for an effective use? Tim, anything out of the videos jump out at you?
I like the fact that it speaks to curiosity on more of the fractal level. It's something that I hadn't really thought about, but I mean, when you get into curiosity, there is tacits of curiosity throughout things, and it really is just a small piece that sparks that curiosity. Or it could even be, how do I put this? That little bit of curiosity can make big change. So, it's just interesting how curiosity is such a big part, even though it can be just so micro.
It's like magic fairy dust,
Yeah.
right? The tiny little particles of curiosity. Blair, what were you going to say?
Yeah, that fairy dust thing is sort of partially true. I mean, when you start taking a look at the behaviors that we're doing that are actually effective, are we breaking them down into an identifiable, repeatable, and duplicatable model? Or are we just accepting it? We see it, we're curious about it, it is, and then we quit. We don't dive deeper. And that's part of the, I'd say, winning structure for curiosity is to be able to dive deeper and to be able to see the nuances, the minutia of the thing, but then also easily expand it and watch it sort of grow and flourish and take off and go. Um, it's when you get that flow between the really small right through to the very large, and you go, wow, this whole thought process, this whole argument, this whole piece here, this whole opportunity is basically the same structure. And how can I do this over and over again? I mean, I've been working on automation ever since sent my VA, my virtual assistant, left. And this today, actually yesterday, I started working on it a little bit, but today I got the results of probably 2.5, 3 weeks of work here, where everything that I just showed you was I used an AI called Manus, and I was able to produce this using basically two chunks of AI, all based off our material. Like Patty puts most of this stuff together based on my research, and then we as a group go through it and edit it and refine it and get it to be something of use. But I was I didn't want to play all of the 19-minute audio tape that's there in this one, but it's really good quality stuff that goes into the detail of how to think differently using curiosity. And it's so functional. And one of the things that we've brought in here and that I said, these are not academic models. These are practical behavioral models. These are real world things. And when you can start getting flows and patterns that you can make identifiable, repeatable, and duplicatable, everything in your life can change. And it doesn't get overcomplicated. It gets it simple. It just starts, I don't want to say dumbing it down. It just seems to wash away all the excess clutter. And all of a sudden you have clarity where you had confusion before, and curiosity to go, how far can this go? What else can I do? How far can this be taken? What else might be possible? And the possibilities become larger and larger by going smaller and smaller, more specific. Anyway, that was sort of like one of the things that I rediscovered today, actually. So in going through all of this.
Yeah, I love how you explained like the scope. That was the word that I would use, the scope of curiosity, the scale of curiosity. And I'm curious, actually, if you think about it, I'd love for everybody to take a minute and think about what you know of curiosity thus far, what we've talked about, your own experience. On a scale of 1 to 10, on a, like, would you say generally, how how curious do you operate in your day-to-day life on a scale of 1 to 10? 1, not curious at all. 10, like I'm a bug in the box about everything, like constantly asking the questions. Pop in the chat, where would you rate yourself? This is not about a right, wrong, good, or bad thing, just a amusing, right? Where would you say that you would probably, okay, 5, 5, 9, awesome. 6.5, Blair? Brent? Tim, you get to say it out loud since we're unmuted. 6.5.
Probably a 4 or 5.
Okay. So like we're like kind of in the middle here. And it's really kind of fun to think about our natural way of being curious, as Blair talked about in the beginning. Like it was built for survival, like when we were infants. And Blair, I don't know if you want to give more context to like babies specifically.
Absolutely. I do.
Because I think it blends into the neuroscience part of it quite
It
well.
does.
Well, so with your question though, Becky, I'm curious, like, is it more of how curious are you or how aware of your curiosity are you?
That's a fair point.
Because I think I go through my day and I get a lot more curious. Like I'm curious about something. I'm just not paying attention to the fact that I'm curious about it. I just kind of do my thing and go throughout, and I'm not really getting into that fractal to really open it up. I think with that fractal, it's so easy to open the curiosity and get that dopamine, but it's also easily overlooked too.
Well, and if you're going to bring that into the mix, for me, I fully own that my curiosity, if I'm frustrated and overwhelmed and I'm like, I'm just done with this thing, Blair, you brought up like tech and AI. There's a point where I'm done being curious. I'm so over it. Like, if I get any more curious, the laptop's going to go flying. Okay. So I've got some other stuff going on, right? But again, what is our natural slant? When things are not working well, do we get more curious? Do we lock in and start asking more questions to kind of figure it out? Or do you like abdicate the throne to whatever the issue is and I'm going to walk away for a minute, which sometimes is the most effective option. But again, we're talking about the scope or the scale of applied curiosity. Blair.
That was one of the things when I went through the audio with this, I started evaluating myself and I go, I would normally, prior to earlier today, I would have said, I'm an 8, 9, 9.5, maybe. All of a sudden I started realizing that when am I diving in as effectively as I can, or am I finding things that get in my way that I'm not getting curious around? What are these barriers, blocks, and beliefs that I'm not addressing? And I mean, these are some of the questions that popped up, and I go, holy crap. I've got tools around me that I can do this, but it's between my ears because if I'm not getting curious effectively, I don't see the questions to ask. Mm-hmm. And if I don't initiate the questions to ask, I don't even okay, I live by myself. I'm divorced, as most of you guys know. So, and I've been on my own for, since 2019, more or less. But you got to have a way of being able to engage. And I'll tell you right now, I mean, ChatGPT and all these AI crap has been amazing, but it's always limited by your own ability to get curious. And you got to be able to at least spark a bit of curiosity with the AI so that it can, and then like a couple times today, I ask it to ask me questions, which is interesting to say the least. So, I mean, we dive into this whole thing, but to your point there, Becky, curiosity is hardwired into us for the survival. I mean, back in the day, I was doing, I was, I had a company called Life Skills Colleges, and it was based on, research done by the government. And one of the things that it had was this whole idea of how important it is to have curiosity. And I was building out the mind models and testing them. And in this one case, I had a nurse who was a pediatric nurse. So basically, when a baby's born, they run the baby through a 9 step scale, APGAR scale. And one of those tests, one of those things that they do to see about the brain development is hand the baby when it's hungry and it's crying, like give it to the mom and see if the baby latches on. And if it just keeps crying and doesn't root around and doesn't try and latch on, it knows that it's hungry. It's screaming and yelling because it's hungry, but it can't quite, and it should be able to smell um, the mother's milk. So you should be able to have it root around. But if it doesn't get curious, and that's the whole thing that they test for, is they literally test for curiosity, because that is a stage of brain development where the brain, actually in the baby, has to develop a fundamental level of curiosity. And it is the only emotion that I know works from the amygdala, your emotional center, to your prefrontal cortex. And that's the weird thing. Anyway, a little bit more about me this weekend, maybe too much information, but I went on 2 coffee dates. So this weekend, one happened to be with a professor of psychology, retired at the U of A, and lovely lady, but wanted to know where my test results were published and how I did all that, like all the academic bullshit. And I go, yes, but we have practical things. And in 35 years, we didn't lose a single person, and we had 80% of our student population was potentially suicidal. Wow. Okay. That caught our interest. But these are behavioral based pieces. So recognizing how curiosity operates and how her mind worked, she didn't have, I queried her around curiosity too, by the way. And like she doesn't know, there is no research that she was aware of psychology using the emotion of being curious, because it is an emotion, to go to the prefrontal cortex. And she was a professor in psychology, yet completely unaware. Yet that was a discovery I made, geez, close to 50 years ago at the college, because I had to see, how do I cause people to shift? And again, I work with time tense, like past, present, future. When people have problems, they're taking their past, projecting it into the future, and collapsing that into the now. Well, you can't change a past future without a real now, without something right now, because your body, your mind is locked in to this past future model without a present, but you're calling it the present, you're calling it now. And it's misnaming and labeling it. And I worked with a hypnotherapist as well this week. And she was challenged with the past future loop and crying at, going through her own issues, but talking about how she's constantly able to help everybody else, but not herself. And I just walked her through in about 5 minutes, sprinkling my pixie dust, as my students used to say, and just fixing it all. But all I do is take people, I have them identify their past, have them identify their future argument, whatever they're doing in their mind, and create a present state that they can change in. And when they come to the present, you almost inevitably hear that sigh, just, ah, and they are now present. And they shifted themselves. And when they shift themselves like that, life changes, or at least has a possibility to change. And if we're curious enough, one of the major lessons in curiosity for me, I'll just share this, then I'll shut up. But the one of the major major, most important lessons was, and I'm sure we've all done this. Like, think of how many times we've told people around us some brilliant observation or some brilliant advice or something that's really, really good for them. But we don't bother to listen to ourselves when we tell somebody else and apply it to ourselves. And I go, we're constantly telling it for everybody else, but are we listening to ourselves and asking us, can I learn from myself here? Is that something that's important for me too? I know
I
it's, go ahead.
I love that you say that, because as we're talking about curiosity, from the behavioral side of it, because it is an
Yeah.
emotion, but we can behave to curiosity, the words and the things that we use. By definition, from a behavioral perspective, curiosity is the intentional act of asking questions to gather and test information in order to gain clarity, expand perspective, and move forward effectively. And so what I got from what you just shared, Blair, is a simple question fueled by curiosity. How does this apply to me? Because to your point, we so often get so actively, working in our roles and our responsibilities, doing the things that we're supposed to do. We get curious about those things, but sometimes our curiosity about ourselves, what's working for ourselves, or how we might be more effective, unfortunately, sometimes gets put on the back burner a little bit. Yes, Jacqueline, how might this apply to me? Or what might I learn from this? Those are two fantastic questions when we're thinking about, learning from other people or reading a book or watching a movie. If there's a lesson that pops up and we're like, oh man, that's so cool. What might happen if we add a little layer to that about how might this apply to me, or how might I use that? And Leslie, you were looking very thoughtful while Blair was talking. I would love to hear what was running through your mind, if you don't mind sharing.
I'm hearing these things about how things move from one part of your brain to the other. And I've never thought in these terms before, but since joining in with this group on a regular basis for a couple of years now, and hearing this more and more, I'm intrigued by it. And I guess what it is realizing from it being repeatable and duplicatable that yeah, there are different parts in our brain, and just in using it. That's what I just find. I'm intrigued by it. I'm intrigued by it.
And what does that intriguedness fuel in you? How do you experience that?
I want to live to over 200 years old, because it's going to take me that long to learn everything I want to learn.
Hashtag life goal. Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great question,
Which is an
Jack.
impractical answer, but it's just fun learning. I am curious. I have in the things that I do, I have to be curious to probably greater depths in a lot of professions, because I'm always trying to define risk and eliminating that risk in providing the services that I do. So it's I plugged in a 9 for your question of how curious, and I have to be humble and probably retract that a bit, because also in listening to Blair, realizing that yeah, I'm maybe I'm not a 9 curious.
Or maybe your curiosity, your 9, is accurate through the lens that you're looking at. Because again, we're not always necessary to 10, like a 9, 9.5. Different things, like your intriguedness, right? Being intrigued. Jacqueline put in the chat, what part of your brain are you using now, Letty? If you're intrigued about something.
I don't know.
Blair?
Well, actually,
that part of my brain that is aware.
and that's likely your prefrontal cortex.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. So I made a slight modification to our definition.
Okay.
And, curiosity is the intentional act of becoming present by asking questions now to gather and test information in order to gain clarity, expand perspective, and move forward effectively.
Yeah, that's a power. Go ahead, Blair. Sorry.
Yeah, it's just I got it so that prior to the adjustment was about stating clearly about present and now. Because a lot of times I know earlier today, I was assuming, of course I'm present. I'm talking, I'm thinking, I'm da 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 da. Until I stopped to think about this, how present am I? And I go, no, 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 because all of that stuff of me making the assumption that I was present was me not being aware of being present, of assuming that I would just default into being present. And that's on autopilot. And are you really aware enough to be present when your brain's on autopilot?
It's a fantastic question. And I think that it bears repeating that curiosity is functionally in the present moment.
Yes.
Because we're engaging with it, we're utilizing it. And the utility comes from now. Like the only place that we can act is in the now. We can analyze the past, we can make plans for the future, but really only right now is when we can actually behave. I'd love to check in with you, Zach. You gave a fire to Jacqueline's Where Am I, which is a wonderful question to check in with yourself and find out where you are in time and space and or location.
Yeah.
What are you pulling from tonight?
I think curiosity seems to be it's like the anti-judgment like state. And so like I'm thinking about different situations that I was curious even before I knew anything about mind models, and some of the epiphanies I had from it. I remember I was running an ad agency at the time. I was helping a coach. She's a big business coach influencer person. And I was running an ad to a webinar. This is back when webinars were popular. And it was failing miserably. But the leads were good, like the numbers were all good until people were to register for this webinar. And I'm like, I don't get it. The messaging is like seemingly on point. I had a software on these web pages called Hotjar where I can like literally see where they're moving their mouse and stuff. And they were filling out the form and then not clicking register. And I'm like, is there a tech issue? And it took me a week and a half of like trying to figure out what the heck is wrong with this thing. And finally, I'm like, I just decided to get curious. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna go the clean slate. I don't know anything about this person. I'm just gonna incognito into this funnel and I'm just gonna see what the experience is like. And what I found was the registration, it's like a pop-up for the form on the page. And the whole funnel is like dark background with pink highlights. Her whole thing is heartrepreneur. It's like an entrepreneur from the heart. So it's a lot of pink. Okay. And then that pop-up comes up to register, and the stupid button was baby blue. And when I was doing it from a clean slate, I was like, oh, it was weird. It was almost jarring to see a different color. So I changed it to pink and it fixed the entire thing. It's like the tiniest little things. And so that was one of the first experiences where I stopped judging for a moment and I just got curious. And found the issue is a stupid button. So
I love it. Like following the clues, right? We're gonna find out the little nuances about what's going on, and that is again powerful. Oh my goodness, let's try that again. A powerful tool in business, and then also, with ourselves on the emotional side as well, because curiosity is that magic key that kind of blends between both worlds, which I think is, as Blair was talking, like it's not taught a lot. We're very, very, very lucky and privileged and blessed to be able to hear and learn from Blair on how these things that we just use influence our lives. Reza, looked like you were writing something and popped up. Do you have anything that's coming up for you that you would like to share as it relates to curiosity?
No, I guess yes, there's yes. What's coming up is using curiosity to form judgments, is a loop that I've been in. And I realized after watching this video, I'm like, oh, right. I wanted certainty and judgments, and use curiosity to bypass my mind model detective. So yeah, just that was a good realization. Thank you.
Yeah, and I appreciate you sharing that, because I think more often than we are aware of, unless we're slowing down enough to like pay attention to how we're behaving, that probably creeps in a little bit more than we'd like. And so we talk about all the wonderful things that curiosity does, and I would love to hear. Is it Valeska? Is that how you pronounce your name?
Yes.
I would love to check in with you before we kind of change avenues just a little bit. What's
We've got
landing-
Mike with his hand up too.
Oh, Mike, is your hand up?
Yeah.
Yeah, but Blessing, you go first.
Oh, okay. All right. Valeska, I was just curious, what's landing for you tonight, or what are you pulling from tonight's conversation?
Well, I'm still trying to understand the dynamic of the group. So.
And what are you noticing about, or what about the dynamic of the group as it relates to your experience here tonight?
I have it that maybe I'm not intellectual enough to be in this group.
Oh,
yeah. So
no, you are definitely, intellectualness is not part of the equation in this group. We're all here learning about mind models that Blair's created and how different ones we can use in our lives to become more effective. So there's no need to have a certain level coming in to these at all. I know I can speak for myself. Tim and I have been around mind models for a very long time, and we're still learning something new. There's like no end to that. But I'm curious, is there anything for you personally that has resonated for you tonight about curiosity?
Well, for me, when I'm having a conversation with someone, I have to interrupt myself and take out the emotion of what's being said. It's like, okay, I need to be in their shoes and listen attentively.
Yeah, love it. So being very curious and attentive to the person you're talking to. Awesome.
Yeah, because depend who they are, I go into their culture. I figure out, how do they view the world? And then I have to say, okay, stop that. Just be present and listen.
Oh, that's a lovely practice in being present and curious. So well done. Well done. All right, Mike, you had your hand raised?
Yeah, so because Blair brought up the past, present, and future, and it's tying with curiosity, I just want to share a little experience that I had about a month ago that really ties into this whole thing. Okay. So I did the Landmark Forum last August, and that's how Valeska and I know each other. And we're currently in a seminar called Beyond Fitness. And a couple weeks ago, there was an assignment. And in the assignment, there was this little statement that was about take the past that you're living out of the future and putting it in the past. And how do you do that? Is by giving something up. And you're going to practice giving up your stories or your decisions or your rackets. And when I came into the Landmark Forum, one of the things that really hooked my interest was how different would your life be if you stopped doubting yourself?
And so the night after that particular seminar, I was out doing my daily walk and I was thinking about this whole thing. And my big story, my big racket that's been holding me in place is not being good enough. And so I was curious to try an experiment, and I tried it, and it had an amazing result. So what I did was I went back in my memory to the moment after, like literally the moment after. I went up to my dad and I hadn't seen him all day, and I'm like, "Daddy, daddy, daddy," question after question after question. He was in a bad mood, and he told me to shut the F up and stop asking so many stupid questions. And so I shut down, and I ran into my room and I started crying. And so I walked into my bedroom the moment after that happened, and I told little 4-year-old me that I was him 48 years in the future. And I asked him, what was that question that you first thought of, the very first question you thought of after Dad told you to stop asking so many stupid questions? The first question was, well, what's a smart question then? But I shut myself down and be like, well, that's got to be a stupid question because Dad says only ask stupid questions, so I never asked that question. And so that became my anchor to holding me in place emotionally at 4 years old and developing the story in the racket that I'm not good enough. And so I told 4-year-old me to go back into the room and ask Dad that question because it was going to catch that off guard because he didn't realize what he just said and how it landed and impacted me. And so 4-year-old me went back into the living room and said, "Dad, what's a good question?" My dad was like, "What?" And then Dad was like, "No, like, I was having a bad day. I didn't mean to take it out on you. You don't ask stupid questions really smart. In fact, you ask really good questions, just like your mom, maybe a little bit too much like your mom, and then so they hugged it out, and then he came back, and 4-year-old me shared that with me, and then we hugged it out, and I told him a little negative news that he's a fan of Magnum PI, and I'm like, right now I'm writing a Magnum PI movie that you're going to star in, and you're going to play Tom Selleck's son in the movie. And then he's like, oh my God, like totally blown away, and then I left. And in the week since, I've gone back in my memory as 52-year-old me, reliving that moment, but then also going back in my memory as 4-year-old me, reliving that moment. And I no longer don't believe in myself. I now have this, I'm just filled with like possibility because I know that I'm good enough and I feel like I've always been good enough. And the not good enough no longer is attached to me.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, Mike.
Absolutely.
A journey, right? A journey led by curiosity and an outcome that's working for you, it sounds like. So well done,
Yeah.
you.
And
That's
then
awesome.
there's like, wow, could it really be that simple?
Yes.
And
Yes.
yes, it is. And yes, it can be.
Yeah, it can be.
As I say, Tim and I, in our intro, sometimes we talk about us overcoming an 8-year issue in our marriage, right? In a couple of hours. And that statement, can it really be that simple, was one of the aha awarenesses of us being able to move forward because we both slowed down enough to get curious about what was going on for us, what was going on for each other without judgment, and then a willingness to move forward in curiosity, right? Building a plan, leaving the past in the past where it belongs, because there's nothing that we could do to change it for us, right? It's just a question of, all right, what do we want to do moving forward? And so, yes, mind models are powerful, but they are extremely simple. And that's what makes them sticky, as Blair talks about, right? They're sticky, they're identifiable, duplicatable, and repeatable. They don't have to be complicated. Things don't need to be complicated. In fact, when we slow it down a little bit and we get really specific and clear, as Blair was talking in the beginning, that's where we seem to find more traction. Things start to move more for us.
Mhm.
Patty, I would love to hear your thoughts on curiosity and how you've experienced it, both effectively and ineffectively, if you don't mind, my dear.
One of the things that I notice about my own life is that there are times I'm moving too fast to be curious. It's this sort of momentum that life takes on, and I'm doing the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And I'm not even, I guess you could say that that's a little bit of living in the future. My future moments, my now is very small, and I'm going future, 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 future with the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. And with that, I now know how to push the pause button and say, okay, what's going on right now? What am I experiencing right now? What can I take away from this? What What do I need to notice about what's going on for me right now? But I run that tension of moving too fast to remember to be curious. You know, curiosity is a practiced habit, it's a practiced behavior. So when I'm looking to incorporate more of it in my life, I need to remember to ask the questions. I need to remember. And when I first was exposed to curiosity and question asking, what hit me like a ton of bricks is that there's a skill in asking questions. And it requires practice. Asking questions sounds so simple, but it's really not as, I mean, it's a simple concept, but I guess it's a practiced behavior that if you haven't done that, then it's a little awkward to start sometimes. You know, the questions don't sound, you know, they don't sound as Mike was saying, they don't sound smart. You know, the questions don't sound deep or meaningful. But a question like one of the favorite questions we have on this program comes from Jacqueline, and that's just the where am I question. Just where am I? And am I in the past, the present, the future? Am I inside my own head? Am I, you know, is there external verification for what's going on? That where am I question has gotten her, she's shared in the past, out of a number of spots. And I've actually got it on, I don't know if you probably can't see it, but I have one of these little bracelets with words on it. And the words are where am I? So that I can look down and remember. It's my memory jogger to be curious. It's my memory jogger for where I am. So from an ineffective place, it's moving too fast to be curious, to take the time to pause. From an effective place, it's practicing using questions for myself and practicing being curious with other people. Just practice, practice, practice. And it's the how and the what questions, not the why questions. The why questions don't take you to an effective place, but the how and the what questions, every question that Becky has asked tonight, you know, how do you experience that? How might this apply to me? How might I use that? You know, what's coming up for you? They're all how and what questions, and that's part of what makes them so effective. So that's me.
Thank you for sharing, Patty. You know, and I want to just bring up some ideas. And again, everything that we cover on the Blair Dunkley experience is about process. The intention is to engender curiosity so we can take a look at the things that are working for us, the things that maybe aren't working for us, and then choose what we want to do differently. So when we think about curiosity, this is one that I can remember from a very young age, and it's an ineffective side of curiosity that for whatever reason, I seemed to be the person that people would go to. And it was like, we'd be in a group setting, somebody would do or say something, they would leave, and then the person that I was still with would turn to be like, what do you think they meant by that? Right. And then here went this whole on narrative about all the reasons and excuses and all the things that were probably going on that was causing that person to do or say whatever they did. And we're talking like young, like playground kind of stuff. Okay. And I think that that's kind of an assumed thing. Like there's some sort of social awkwardness where we're getting something from what's being done or said, but we don't either want to or know how to engage with it. And so the moment that the pressure is gone, aka the entity is left, the person's left, we seek for information about that person or the event from somebody who's not that person or wasn't even part of the event. And that's one of the things that can really run ineffective curiosity, because we're curious about something, but we're not curious enough to go to the source, to go to the one whom actually has the keys to the answers that we might get versus manufacturing them. I know that's where a lot of times assumptions pop in. We assume things without asking effective questions to the people or persons that can actually give us the results. And I think, Blair, would you say that with our negative self-talk, that that's part of the narrative, where we're asking ourselves questions, but are we really using it from a curious perspective versus something else?
Absolutely, because like, how does curiosity impact your mental activity, like your emotions? How does it sharpen or like cause you to brace? Because if you get curious about what you know, Mike's story there, you go, okay, his dad shut the F up and it's a stupid thing. Anyway, I get all that. However, um, is that level of curiosity doing the 4-year-old thing? I love that. It's a great way to relive and, you know, create a new memory or actually update a memory that got in your way, and you can now change it in the moment. That's fine, fair ball. However, how often do we do that to ourselves and we use negative self-talk? And then we go, like, the curiosity is like, how stupid do I have to be before I learn? Like, how, you know, I'm sorry, I'm dyslexic. I was, you know, born whatever. I went through a lot of that as a kid and just berating myself. If it wasn't done to me, I'd do it to myself, you know, because it was just not, things didn't necessarily come that easily to me. And so I needed to create, well, that's how come I created the mind models. And I didn't even know I was being curious. I just got sick and tired of being literally beaten up. And so I had to find an alternative to all of this stuff. And I did. I found ways to both protect myself emotionally and physically from, I wasn't a big kid, and I would get beaten up most recesses in elementary school. But there was the ability to learn from those situations and manage things through questions. And once I started questioning the circumstance, the situation, and stopped criticizing through questioning myself, I could start adjusting my world. And that level of seeing it shift, of being able to influence was critical, because this comes down to, what can I do about influencing myself with the questions that I ask me? Not others, just the questions I'm asking me. And how many times back in the day, it was constant, by the way, I would start by criticizing myself. And I felt like if I didn't criticize myself first, then I was being stupid. How come? Because somebody else would just be criticizing me. So I don't know if you guys have seen this pattern. I've seen it a lot, where people who have low self-worth, what they do is they beat themselves up first before anybody else has a chance to do that to them. So it's sort of it's a way to do that. But that took active curiosity to figure out the pattern. Now, is it an effective pattern? Not really, but it's a pattern, and it's semi-effective and semi-ineffective. Anyway, that was sort of the piece
Yeah.
that
Thank you for
yeah,
sharing that, Blair.
no worries.
In the chat, I'm going to post some effective curiosity cues and ineffective curiosity cues. And then due to time, I believe that we need to transition to wrap up. I'm going to read a couple of these really quick, because again, these can be applied to self or others. And I think that maybe just take a quick run through and note the ones that maybe are sticking up for you. So ineffective curiosity cues are asking questions of others from an entitlement perspective. Questions from a blaming perspective, self or others. Again, Blair was describing that self-blame of the kid, like, I'm going to beat myself up before anybody else can, right?
Yeah.
And tearing yourself down, proving your point. Question to position yourself as right. creating an opening to tell someone what you think. So again, that's an element of proving and positioning. But effective curiosity cues are asking questions of yourself and others to discover what worked, what didn't work, and what you might do different. Again, forward-facing, resolution, solution-oriented, resilient or resourceful questions, and pausing to listen and reflect on the questions, answers to your questions. So again, if you guys want, go ahead and copy and paste that from the chat. Post that somewhere for you guys. Those are some cues as you're learning to develop curiosity that you might use to kind of see how you're interfacing with that. And Patty, I believe you're gonna handle us for wrap up.
Thank you. So just to clarify, Valeska, to fill you in a little bit on what we do here for wrap up, we ask people for one takeaway that they've received during the time we've spent together. And then on a scale of 1 to 10, what is the value that you took out of the time we have today? Not how well did Blair or Becky or anyone else do, but what value did you take out of it for yourself? And so when we get to the things, I ask people for their permission if they want to participate or not. You're very, very welcome to say no. We would enjoy hearing your thoughts if you say yes. So I'll let you listen to other people doing it, and then I'll check in with you. Is that all right? Okay. So Brent, can we start with you? Your wrap up for tonight. Would you like to participate?
Yes, I was just copy and pasting that section there, and I that's great with those cues. That's wonderful. Thank you. Thanks for that. Yeah, I enjoyed this a little bit. I know hearing curiosity and going over it several times. It's the couple more things that I think we went into was the ineffective side of curiosity. Was the one thing that stuck out for me. We always talk about curiosity and how it's being effective, but seeing it, how you can use it in an ineffective manner. You can be intentional with it, but your intentions are, for judgment and manipulation, those types. So you can use it still curiosity, but it's used as a different tool than for trying, to be effective and just like genuine curiosity that's looking for just the information, not from a place of judgment. Like what is it? What is the data, the information? So just looking for that without holding judgment there. So that's what I got new from today. So and welcome, Valeska. It's nice to have you on. So I give tonight 8 for me.
Okay, thanks, Brent. Reza, would you like to participate and wrap up tonight?
Yes, tonight is an 8 for me. What I got out of it is I was using curiosity for judgment, and at what times I do that is mainly times I quickly want to get to a goal or a result, or I do want to do things fast in a fast fashion. Which when I slow things down and really start to think through things, that's where I'm actually curious and actually have the time and space and the mental capacity to
Now
be
that's
curious.
slowing down is the big one. Just saying.
Yeah. And then sort of like the space opens up in your brain when you slow down, and then that you can still be curious and then just understand and take that understanding into a process, and then going from there. So it was an 8 out of 10. Thank you.
Thank you, Reza. Jacqueline will share if she comes on camera, and Shannon gave it an 8 for tonight in the chat. Mike, would you like to participate in the wrap up tonight?
Yeah, I'd give it an 8. And there's actually 2 things that kind of stick out for me. Is one is, are things getting in your way that you're are things getting in your way that you're not getting curious about barriers, blocks, and beliefs? And then also the stopping and asking yourself, where are you, past, present, future? That's something that I gotta start doing a little bit more of.
Yeah. Our Jacqueline question never gets old, ever gets old. Valeska, would you like to participate in the wrap up?
Sure, yes. So I give it an 8. I think mostly because what I saw today is, see, when me growing up, I used to ask a lot of questions and I was always told to be quiet. So my light was turned off. So now as an adult, when I ask question, I do get uncomfortable. And today my dad's in a care home and I'm his, I make decisions for him. And I got calls that he's got sigmoid volvulus. And when I was asking questions, they didn't like it. The care lady didn't like it. So I said, listen, I'm just concerned. I want to understand what this is. I want to know what to do here. So I want to talk to the doctor. So they got him to call me and I asked all the questions. And then I was no longer so worried. I was more relaxed. Like, I can't control this. It is what it is. Now I know what it is. And I know what kind of decision I can make for him by knowing.
Well done.
Very well done. Yes.
Well
Good
done.
job.
That takes a measure of courage as well as curiosity to do what you did. So
yes.
Well done.
Thank you.
Let's see. Leslie, would you like to participate in wrap up tonight?
Yes, thank you. A 9 for me tonight. Like Brent talked about the judgmental side of curiosity, and that was something that we haven't discussed heavily before. But so that's a new takeaway for tonight. And Patty, you talked about pausing, hitting the pause button. And that's a reinforcement tonight for me because yes, it's something that we've been doing more, is just pausing and thinking before asking questions or just speaking and talking and filling the room with voice. So it's a strong 9 for me tonight. And Valeska, it was good to meet you tonight. We hope you come back. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. Zach, would you like to participate in the wrap up?
Yeah, I'll do an 8.5 tonight. Highly effective. There were just some really neat aha moments. Definitely the pause button. I definitely relate to that in a variety of ways, both with my, my professional career as well as dealing with my kids. Sometimes I don't have patience. So then they do something or say something, and instead of pausing and asking an effective question, I just say something. So telling is much less effective than asking. So I very much appreciated that. I definitely like these cues in the chat, so thank you for that, Tim and Becky. And yeah, 8.5, very effective.
Well, thank you. I have to say, you are very welcome back. It's good to see you. We have missed you. And Reza, 2 weeks in a row, love to see you keep coming. You add a lot of value. And Valeska, thank you so much for giving us a try. We do hope that you'll come back and build with us, because we're all just builders of skills to become more effective in life. So, Jim, would you like to participate in the wrap up?
Yes, Patty, I'd love to. And I just want to echo what Patty just shared. It's great having you back, Zach and Reza and Valeska. We do hope you come back and join us more on the Tuesday nights. It's been great having you here, and it's awesome that you've been sharing tonight. In fact, we talk about our biggest takeaway. What you just shared in your wrap up, I can relate very much to that. When I was young, I was also silenced a lot, not don't ask questions. Questions that were asked towards me were usually when I was in trouble and coming from, a place of, why did you do that? What were you thinking? And so it was very negative, very impactful for me as a youth. And so growing up, questions, someone would ask me a question and I immediately walls went up. It was like, don't ask questions, don't go there. And I had a lot of limiting beliefs around questions. So coming into mind models, and it's all about getting curious, asking those forward-facing questions. I'll fully admit, my wife is a question queen, and she does ask a lot of questions. And at first, it was really uncomfortable for me when she would ask me questions, and I would be like, "Whoa, okay," and I would go into an emotional place that wasn't effective. Thankfully, it's gotten better as time has gone on, and I'm aware of curiosity and the questioning process and how that works, and that has opened up for me. Um, yeah, I can very much relate to, the positive side of curiosity and the negative side of curiosity. And one of the things that, one of my big takeaways for tonight is just taking that pause, as Patty mentioned. Because I'll overlook questions instead of, I'm just going about my thing, just doing, and I don't take enough time to pause and really get that forward-facing, effective curiosity flowing to really dive deep into what is actually going on so that then it does open up and I can move forward even more effectively than I'm already doing. And so, yeah, my big takeaways tonight is just, being aware of my past, keeping that in the forefront of my mind and not, allowing that to creep in and really just taking those moments to pause with those forward facing curiosity moments and moving forward. So I don't know if I gave my number, but 8.75 for me tonight. So
Thank you, Kim. Thank you very much. Becky, would you like to give us your wrap up tonight?
Sure. Yeah, I'll go 8.65 for me tonight. There was actually something that popped up in the beginning when the video was going that kind of popped in my brain, and it's been simmering a little bit about how our brains get a dopamine hit with new information, like curiosity, like it loves it. And then at some point in life, we get new information and we're terrified of it. So what came up for me was this kind of duality between when we receive information, our brain wants to treat it like candy, but we might have habituated an operating system that's filtering through judgment or assumptions. And so really being able to understand the function and the behavior of curiosity and build more of that gives our brain a break. It gives it a little bit less operating angst load. And the video talks about curiosity being the jailbreak from the brain. I've experienced that in so many different areas: trauma, PTSD, grief, you name it. Curiosity has been the one, right? The person that comes in and gives a little timeout, waving the white flag, like, hey, okay, guys, just slow down for a second. What's going on right now for you? And just that micro curiosity, and Blair, talks about the fractals, is a very powerful thing, because you get to be the one who chooses how much you yield or wield at any given situation. And it can be built upon, it can be grown, it can be cultivated, which is super, super cool. That's me.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Blair, would you like to participate in the wrap up tonight?
Totally. Yeah, going through making the audio file and the video earlier today was a real, I want to say wake up call, but I was awake, but I didn't know how foggy my window was that I was looking through. And I needed to sort of clear out a spot there and go, are you giving yourself enough visual runway? Are you looking forward enough? And I go, wow. All of these things that are changing in life, all of this stuff with AI, with the world going through turmoil and everything else, are you staying open to change? Blair, are you just cocooning? Like wanting just to pull in and protect? Because generally, when there's a lot of turmoil in the world, there's a lot of opportunity. So, that pay attention to that, but pay attention to what you can do for you too. And yeah, fascinating weekend with a couple of coffee dates that I shared, but fascinating today by taking a look at curiosity in a different light and saying, how can I tweak myself even more and do that whole thing? So 8.75 to 9 for me. So it was pretty darn good. And it's not like 9 plus or anything, because I know I've got a lot more work I could do on me just from what I discovered about me here. So anyway, that's me. I'm done.
Thank you. This has been the first in a new series that we're doing called Foundational Awareness with Mind Models. This is level 1, and there are a number of mind models that go into level 1 that are just foundational. And so this is the first one, and then next week we'll do another one. And for the next, I think, 6 or 7 weeks, we'll be doing foundational level 1. So it's a wonderful time to kind of re-anchor into the concepts that are sort of foundational then for mind models. So with that, Tim, would you be willing to take us out tonight?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Patty, did you give your wrap up?
Did you give your wrap up, Patty?
No, I skipped me.
Patty, would you like to participate in the wrap up?
I totally skipped me. Okay. For me, an 8.5. For me, an 8.5, it's I liked, Blair, what you were talking about, needing to clean off the windows to see, and how far can you see through them. There were so many things that people said that I got great value from. And going over this, and again, Leslie was saying, this is really the first time we focused a little bit on the ineffective side of curiosity. So bringing it all together for me tonight was valuable.
Awesome.
So I'm going to turn it back to you, Tim. Thank you for thinking of me.
Thank you, Patty. So just a reminder, everybody, really quick, before I take us out tonight, we do have a homework, if you will, or a practice experience, as we like to call it here at the Blair Dunkley Experience. Want to just challenge everybody to bring an example of what you noticed practicing curiosity this week. Back to next week for we'll go through and just do a quick recap of tonight's conversation. So just paying attention to those moments this coming week where curiosity plays a part and how that affects you, and bring that experience back for next Tuesday. With that, just a few parting things. Blair does have his BDE insider notes, as he showed us in the beginning. Lots of really cool stuff in there. Lots of value. A lot of things that we don't cover or we don't get to hear live on the call, because we do like to make it experiential. We do follow where the conversation goes. And so a lot of what we've prepared doesn't actually get shared. And so you can get all that information with the mind models that we didn't get to in the insider notes. There is, from episode 318 to current, this is 386, so there's a wealth of information in there. You can get the study guide for $25 a month or $300 a year just by simply going to blairdunkley.com/BDE-insider-notes, and you can get all of that wealth of mind model information in there. Well worth it. Just another reminder that Blair has 2 books on Amazon, The Ultimate Mind Hacking and The Phobia Freedom Formula. Again, this is a great opportunity to take a deeper dive into a couple of the mind model. Well, actually, there's multiple mind models within these books. And to dive into those and get just a whole different experience with the mind models. He's also got another book coming out soon, so stay tuned. We'll have more information on that. And with that, we are so grateful for all of you here live and all of you on YouTube for joining us tonight for tonight's episode. If you'd like to join us here live, those of you on YouTube, we have a link here. You can go to go.rewiringthemind.com/weekly-webinar, and you can actually join us live here on the Blair Dunkley Experience. You do get a lot more out of it by actually coming in, getting curious, asking those questions, and having an experience. It really is impactful to be here. We've had Valeska and a few others hop in the last few weeks. It's been great having you here, and we'd love to see all of you out there join us on Tuesday night. We are here every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Mountain, 9 p.m. Eastern. And with that, everybody have a great week and a great day or night, wherever you're tuning in from. And we will see you next Tuesday. Take care, everyone.
Take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.